Hey there, treasure hunt fans. Your old pal Big D back here again with another movie review. So I decided to do something a little bit different with this movie review. I usually pick like big movies to review. Like last week was The Predator and stuff like that. This week I chose to do something a little bit different. This movie really messed me up when I was a kid. I was about 12 or 13 when this movie came out, and it really messed me up. And I love watching it to this day, but I still remember how scared this movie made me when I was a kid. And that movie is The Day After. Wow. I whew, it's I watched it again yesterday and it still kind of like makes me a little uneasy. This is a really well done movie and it was a made for TV movie. And it was it Kino Lorber put it out on Blu-ray. I believe this is the first time it's on Blu-ray. I don't think I know I have a VHS, not VHS, a DVD copy of this, which is not that great. But it is finally officially out, and I really wanted to watch it. And you're probably asking, the first thing is, why did this movie scare you when you were a kid? Well, back when this movie came out, and I believe it was 1983. When this movie came out, it was in the height of the Cold War. Now, most people know what the Cold War is, but if you don't, it's when the U.S. and Russia were at its worst. This is when tension was really high. And so what the filmmakers did with this thing, and actually it was directed by Nicholas Meyer, and if you don't know who Nicholas Meyer is, Nicholas Meyer did Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and also was involved with Star Trek VI. So he directed this movie. It was a made-for-TV movie, and it was done specifically to kind of show what would happen if there was a nuclear war. So the movie, what it is the movie starts off and it's a little over 2 hours long because it was made for TV, so I think it was 3 hours on the television because you got to time it in for commercials. So essentially, what the movie is about is it shows you a bunch of families, and I'm kind of studying here because I want to make sure I do this right. So the first 50 minutes of the movie is all about meeting the characters. You're meeting Jason Robards in the movie. You're meeting Steve Guttenberg. You're meeting some of the other people that are in this movie. Who was it? JoBeth Williams. And let's see here, John Lithgow's in it. Yeah, I mean, you're meeting all these characters and seeing what they're doing. Like Jason Robards is the main star. He's a doctor, works at the hospital in Kansas City, like Kansas City State University. He worked there at their hospital, and he has a wife, and he has a son who's playing football, and a daughter who wants to move to I think it was Boston to be with her boyfriend. Then you meet people like John Lithgow, who's a teacher at at that school. JoBeth Williams is a nurse who helps assist Jason Robards. And so basically you get to meet these characters and learn who they are. We get to see different families. Some families who have kids, some families that don't. Some, we meet another character who actually works for the military, but he's trying to get home. So you meet all these people, and you watch their lives. The first 50 minutes of the movie, you literally watch their lives. You see how they live. You see what they do from day to day. And meanwhile, in the background, all these scenes, you're hearing stuff like, okay, Russia just attacked Germany. Russia's done this. Germany's fought back with this. Germany's closed this. They've done, you're starting to hear all this stuff, and people are starting to get a little bit worried, but, it's typical, you kind of out of sight, out of mind type thing. And then 50 minutes into the movie, all of a sudden, they start, the emergency broadcast system comes on, and all of a sudden, these missiles all launch. And then people start watching these missiles shoot off into the air, going towards their new destination, which is going to be Russia. And so meanwhile, Russia's launched their missiles at us. They never really say who started it. They're really careful about not saying who started it, just because they don't want to cause any problems. I think for any kind of viewers with movies watched around the world, so it doesn't go, oh, look at that, you're blaming everybody else for this. So they don't go into that. But what happens is the first 50 minutes is like learning who the characters are. Then there's about 20 minutes there where the actual attack happens, where the bombs hit. You're watching things be destroyed. You're watching people. There's several scenes in the movie during the attack where when the bombs hit, it's very disturbing. And why it's disturbing is because you're watching people, like they'll show a clip of somebody sitting, a bunch of people, they're at a wedding, and all of a sudden the bomb hits, and you watch them all turn glow, and then you can see the skeletons, and then they vanish. And this has happened several times throughout this 20 minutes where you're seeing kids playing on a playground. All of a sudden, boom, you see them turn to skeletons, and they vanish. And so for the next 20 minutes, the things happen. You're watching total destruction happen, people's houses being destroyed. You're watching, cities being ruined and stuff like that. And then the next 45 minutes or so of the movie is all the aftermath, how the people that survived this horrific event, how they're surviving. And in all honesty, the second half it's much more, I want to say, stomach turning than the actual attack itself, because now these people who survived this nuclear attack, they're dying. The majority of them are dying because the radioactivity that's floating all over the place is literally killing them. And you're watching these people over the course of the rest of the movie, their hair is falling out, teeth are falling out, they're getting these weird lesions all over their bodies, and they're dying. They're literally dying. And, you know, what's left of the remnants of people are trying to figure out how to get society back up, how to get things rolling again. We got to worry about food, stuff like that, because most food's contaminated. Most animals are gone. There's very few animals left. And as a kid watching this scared the living daylights out of me. I'm not going to lie. This was one of those ones where you really were, as a kid, really worried about it. I remember being in school and having drills where we all had to duck under desk, which is really funny because like that wouldn't do anything. But they would sound an alarm. We'd all have to duck under our desks and just hold off for a minute and to see what, and wait for the all clear sound. So the movie is really well done for a made-for-TV movie from the early 80s, which most of those TV movies are pretty cheap. Excuse me. It is really well done. And I can remember this broadcasting on TV. And I remember watching it. And I remember what's over with. They had all these panels on these news stations, and all these panels that went over with me, discussed it, what was fact, what was fiction, stuff like that. To be honest with you, I think that at this point in our lives, if there was something like this, I don't think anybody would survive it. But, for the purpose of a movie, of course they're going to have some people survive. But it was a very shocking movie at that time, and I think it still is today, and I think it holds up really well. The biggest difference you're going to notice watching this movie, if you do watch it, I highly recommend watching, is, this is the mid-'80s. There's no cell phones. There's computers, but there's big wacko things. There's all the technology, all the things we love today, what they didn't have back then. So it's funny. One scenes that I really enjoyed was when they realized that things were going bad and possibly the weapons were going to be launched. Jason Robards is like driving back from this thing he's going to, driving back into town, and he wants to get a hold of his wife because he knows things are getting really bad. So nowadays we just grab our cell phone and be like, hey, what's up? This is what's going on. Back then they couldn't. So there's actually a scene where he parks and stands in a line of about 15 to 16 people at a payphone, which there's a lot of people out there don't even know what a payphone is nowadays. So it's kind of funny to watch that, and what is really great about this movie, it's a great time capsule for what things were like in the early 80s. It really is. It really shows Midwestern life in the 80s. It really shows how it was. Like, we didn't have all this technology we have today, but, we still found things to do, and we still had a good time. And it's a very great time capsule. It really shows how things were. So I really enjoyed it. It was great to watch again. I've watched this a few times. I used to watch it with my mom every once in a while when I was younger. But like I said, it scared the living daylights out of me. And after I watched it, it took me several years to watch it again. I was a kid. I was really worried that this was going to happen. It was almost like my mom used to equate it to living through the Cuban Missile Crisis. She remembers where we were down to the last couple seconds there before we launched missiles. You can equate it to that, of like being scared, although we've never come that, at least that I know of, ever come that close as we did during the Cuban Missile Crisis. But you gotta wonder sometimes. But well done movie, well made. There is two versions of the movie. There is a theatrical cut, and a TV cut. It is done in DTS. I'm kind of surprised. And it does have auto commentary on here by a historian and one of the writers. It has an interview with Joe Bill Williams, and it does have an interview with Nicholas Myers. So really well done. It's even got you can pop it open, and it's got a reversible cover on it. So this will be the outside right here. This is what the cover looks like. But you can flip it around, and I hope you can see this. That's the reversible cover, so it kind of gives you a more updated version. This picture here is more like the picture you saw on the VHS tape, stuff like that when it came out. This is more the updated picture. They're doing the same things like Scream Factory does. So, but it's a fun movie. I don't want to say fun. I think it's an educational movie. It's something I think that everybody should watch. I think that this kind of threat is always gonna be there until we get rid of these type of things. So I think it is a good movie, and I think it's a good character study of like what would happen if something like this happened and how would we handle it. I think they do a lot of that with The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead is very much like that too. Society's crumbled. Now what happens? Well, you know for a fact that the anarchy is going to happen and people are going to go crazy, because you scare the living daylights out of somebody, they're going to react, and that's scaring the living daylights out of somebody. So, but very well done, well made movie. Nicholas Meyer does hit a home run with this. It is a little dated because it was filmed in the 80s, but it's still really good. Good story. and somewhat educational as well. So definitely check it out. If you get a chance, I don't know if it's on any of the streaming services or something like that, but if you see it, check it. I mean, it wasn't that expensive, and it is a good movie. I highly recommend it. If I was going to give it a score here, one being, giving it a score of 1 Red Vine being the worst movie ever, and 10 being, yeah, Moses parting the Red Seas, I give it about a 7.5. The reason for the 7.5 is the content. If it's just for the movie itself, I give it a 9.5. But there was, although it was cleaned up, it definitely was cleaned up from the DVD and the VHS transfer. There was still some little specks here and there. And there's a couple times it was a little fuzzy and stuff like that. It's definitely been cleaned up, because I don't think it's ever looked this good ever. Come on, let's remember, if you're around the 80s, it wasn't like TV was crystal clear back then anyways. So, I think that was a little problem. And the soundtrack, although in DTS, it was okay. It was okay. It was better than the VHS, but I think there could still be a few more improvements with it. But all in all, though, I do think this is a home run. I do think that Kino Lorber did a really good job on this. I'm excited that they've released this title, because I was always worried it would never come out on Blu-ray to begin with. So it is out now. So if you get a chance, check out The Day After Tomorrow. Did I just say Day After Tomorrow? Oh my gosh. The day after. There's no tomorrow there. Duh. So that is it. Please leave me some notes. Have anybody out there seen this movie? Did you enjoy it? Do you remember? Did you see it when you were young, when it broadcast on TV? Do you remember any of that back then, and how did it scare you, anything like that? Because I know it bothered a lot of people back then. I know it did. So leave me some comments. Let me know. Also, if you want to see more videos, more reviews by Big D, click the subscribe button. You'll see more. Click the little bell if you want to hear when I do put up more videos. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video. There's a lot of clicking going on in there. It seems like every time I turn around, I was like clicking, click, 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 click. So that is it. Thank you all again for watching this. I really do appreciate it. Please share this video out there. I think it's a very important movie that I think other people should know about. I know there's a lot of people that don't know about it. Otherwise, you guys rock. You guys rock, roll, cool, awesome. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Remember to always keep hunting, because you never know what you're going to find. And everybody take care. I forgot to say it in my last video. And live long and prosper.